Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and whoo! 2024 has begun, and you know what January 1st, 2024 means? A really special day in particular. It is the day when Mickey Mouse, yeah, remember that mouse? The most important mouse in the world? The mouse that is behind one of the biggest media empires in the world, Disney? Yeah, the earliest version of this little twink mouse is finally free from copyright law. And what do I mean by that? Ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at Steamboat Willie. You see that Mickey over there? That Mickey, ladies and gentlemen, is finally in the public domain. Yeah, so much time has passed since this actual production was made that Mickey Mouse, at least this first iteration of it, is finally free. Now, you might remember a while back when, Winnie the Pooh entered the sort of, copyright-free territory, and there was a really, really, really shitty movie that was made because of it. You may remember the movie Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. And Blood and Honey wasn't exactly a great movie. It's a slasher movie that came out literally last year. The sequel is supposed to come out next month, apparently, this year. And the first version of it was a boring slasher. The whole premise was the Thousand Acre Woods had some of the most corrupted versions of our old friend Winnie. And that's pretty much how the story went. Wasn't exactly a great slasher movie. Wasn't actually a great movie anyways. And if it sounds like I'm pissed, that's because I wasted my time, my wife's time, my friends' times watching this movie. Now, there's other versions of Mickey Mouse that are free. This is plain crazy, and of course, Mickey is just mad that he has to be in public domain. Papa Walt isn't going to be too proud about this one, is he? So, of course, yeah, there are two cartoons, two of them silent, one of them with sound, that are now entering public domain. And you might be wondering, whoa, can I do anything with them right now? And the reality is, it's very complicated, okay? So we're gonna actually look through a couple laws. Now, public domain, for anybody that wonders what public domain necessarily is, this is January 1st, and of course, these are all the pieces of media that have finally entered the public domain. So obviously, Steamboat Willie is the center of that, but you've got some Charlie Chaplin over there, you've got some Dark Princess, you've got Millions of Cats. This is not the only thing that's entirely available, and this is, of course, published by the, I believe, Duke University? So yeah, this is the Duke University, Center for the Study of Public Domain. So yeah, on January 1st, 2024, thousands of copyrighted works from 1928, which is where Steamboat Willie ended up coming from, will enter the US public domain. Along with sound recordings from 1923, they will all be free to copy, share, and build upon. This year's highlighting, again, ladies and gentlemen, obviously Mickey Mouse and a whole bunch of other very popular tracks. These are just a handful of works that will be in the US public domain in 2024. They were first set to go in public domain after a 56-year term in 1984, but a term extension pushed that date to 2004. They were then supposed to go into public domain in 2004, but after being copyrighted for 75 years. But before this could happen, Congress hit another 20-year pause button and extended their copyright term to 95 years. And now the wait is finally over. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, almost 100 years later, we finally get to fuck around with old Mickey. And literally, we only do get to mess around with old Mickey. See, this is Mickey from 95 years ago. If you decide to use Mickey Mouse from a year ago, you're going into a court battle with Disney, and it's going to be very costly for you and minuscule for them. So don't even think of trying that. But it's kind of impressive how the most iconic character from Disney is at least an iteration of him. The first one is at least copyright free. You know, Mickey Mouse is so important. The moment you step into Disneyland in Los Angeles, the first thing you see is old Walt standing there with Mickey Mouse, pretty much frozen in carbonite, looking at you walking down the gates to Disney. So again, it's not like this is Thor that went copyright free. It's not like, Han Solo, any of Disney's other properties. Arguably, their biggest brand ambassador has been, at least in some iteration, free for copyright, okay? But again, that's just the first iteration of them. So how long does it take, Mutahar, you might be asking, for Mickey Mouse to be turned into a horror film? 10 hours! 10 fucking hours is all it takes, okay? The corpse right now doesn't even have maggots in it. In fact, necrophiliacs argue if it's even attractive to them yet, because the corpse is that alive right now. It's literally only been a few hours. But again, a game known as Infestation 88 gave an official release trailer, and they showcased, how this is a game where old Mickey Mouse is floating around. I'm not joking with you, these guys are gassing up Mickey, a horror version of him. And while it looks interesting, kind of looks like a Lethal Company mix almost, Mickey's supposed to be hunting you down through here, and yeah, that's it. The game is right there. It's literally 88 Infestation Mickey. Didn't even expect this game to already be like on the throws. But with how the trailer looks, I'm pretty sure this was cobbled together in like a few days, if anything. They were really in anticipation of this basically coming out. Look at that, dude. They're literally hunting Mickey over here. That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. A co-op horror in which you are an exterminator treating sinister infestation caused by twisted versions of classic characters and urban legends. Planned release date 2024. Yeah, a day before that, you would have been taken to court. God damn. Now, obviously, when these characters enter the public domain, obviously such as horror films that are going to be made, I'm waiting for like Brazzers or something to come up with like a Mickey Mouse thing. I mean, we've already got things like Strokemon. I mean, to be fair, that would all be covered under like parody mostly anyways, but at this point, you can pretty much take Steamboat Willie to town, if you will, and make him do some real dirty shit. But again, looking at this law over here, something that I learned about public domain in the United States is that, of course, according to the US, all works published or released in the United States before January 1st, 1929 have actually lost their copyright protection. So if you find any piece of media before that specific date in the United States, again, in the United States, not out of it, they've lost their effective DMCA copyright protection. But since January 1st, 2024, in the same manner, works published in 1929 will enter the public domain as of January 1st, 2025. And this cycle repeats until works published in 1977 will enter the public domain in January 1st, 2073. Works of corporate authorship will continue to adhere to the 95-year term following the 2073 date. Under current copyright law, beginning in 2048, 1978, and works beyond by creators who died 7 decades earlier will expire each year. For example, if a creator was to die in 2002, his or her copyright would last throughout the end of 2072 and enter the public domain on January 1st, 2073. So I actually didn't know how impressive like the copyright law was in holding up somebody's copyright until it would enter public scrutiny. I always thought that because of estate rules and the fact that companies could own characters, that the death of an original creator wouldn't necessarily matter as much, and these kind of copyrights could be withheld indefinitely. Now, obviously, trademarking is different. If you use last year's interpretation of Mickey Mouse, that takes you to court. If you use Steamboat Willie, without, it representing any of modern Mickey, you should basically be good. But again, I looked more into like the laws around it, and one of them I didn't really know was the Copyright Term Extension Act, which is also known as the Sonny Bono Act or the Mickey Mouse Protection Act. Insanity, and is actually an act that was effective since October 27th of 1998. And the whole ruling around here was to freeze the advancement date of public domain in the United States for works that are covered by those older fixed-term copyright rules. So under this act, works made in 1923 or afterwards were still protected by copyright in 98. So again, like we looked into the beginning of it, it really looked like this was one of these acts that was out there to initially freeze the copyright. And it's because of acts like this that we had to wait almost 100 years for Mickey Mouse, at least the first iteration of it, to be basically legal. Now, I wonder what's going to happen with following iterations of Mickey Mouse, like past 1920, maybe sometime in the next decade, other versions will become more freer, and there will be more horror games made out of it. I would absolutely kill to have a horror game franchise that would literally year after year just keep adding public domain classic cartoon characters as violent beings. That would be goddamn hilarious. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, pretty big day for copyright law, I would say. Pretty interesting date, because honestly, it's not that often that one of the most iconic characters in media suddenly becomes free to use, free to distribute. But again, only that first version. Ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mutahar, and hopefully, this made you laugh. Hopefully you learned something. I definitely learned something. I learned just how far public domain can go. But of course, I wonder what Disney's going to say about this. Obviously, they pretty much stand by that the modern version of Mickey is theirs and their only, and nobody's arguing that, okay? Nobody's got the legal chops to be arguing that. But at least the first version, it seems. There's already video games, maybe even a movie. Shit, I don't know. God knows what comes out of it in the next week. But this is me, Mutahar, and if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it or dislike it. What an amazing start to 2024. Let's see what this year truly brings. I am out.